Hi, welcome to section 9.2, function notation and linear functions. So hopefully by the end of this, you all will be able to use function notation to find an output of a function given an input. You'll be able to write functions in function notation, and you'll be able to graph linear functions. So let's talk about function notation for a minute. So we've got this function f. It's defined with a rule or an algebraic expression. You're going to have some sort of an equation for your function, or maybe some sort of a set of points for your function. You're using x, and x for the independent variable, y for the dependent variables. We say that y is a function of x to emphasize that y is dependent on x. So you can use function notation. And basically what we're going to use is something like an f of x. And sometimes if you have more than one function, like you'll have like a g of x or an h of x or something like that. They'll use other letters to define different functions. But your y is equal to that function, okay? And that's f of x. In general, what's happening is you have your input, which is your x. And then it's going to go through your function rule. So you might have a set of points, or you might have an equation that basically maps your x's to your y's. And then after inputting that x and then going through that equation, you get an output, and that output is your y, which is the same thing as your f of x. So for our first example, we've got f of x. Here's our rule. F of x equals negative 3x plus 10. And let's see, the first thing we're going to find is f of negative 9. So all it's letting me know, if you notice f of negative 9 and f of x, it's basically saying that negative 9 is your x, and we get to go through that function rule to find f of negative 9. Okay, we're going to find the output. Okay? So negative 9 is our input. We're going to put that in there for x. So we'll have negative 3 times negative 9 plus 10. So I'm just taking our function, and I'm going to put negative 9 in there for x because negative 9 is x. And after doing that function rule, we'll get our output. So let's just go ahead and go through it. So a negative 3 times negative 9 is positive 27. Positive 27 plus 10 is positive 37. And that's our output. So our input was negative 9. We did our function rule using negative 9 for x. And then our output was 37. All right, what if I have something like this? F of a plus 2. Well, our input, instead of just being a number, it has a variable in it. But we actually do things the same way, okay? We're going to stay with our function rule. So that's negative 3 times our input. So that'll be negative 3 times a plus 2 plus 10. So I'm taking my function, and I'm just substituting a plus 2 for x, okay? From here, we'll just simplify it to make it look a lot prettier and nicer. So I'll distribute first, so that would be negative 3 times a. And negative 3 times 2 would be negative 6. And we still have a plus 10. I can combine some like terms from here. So really I'll have negative 3a, and negative 6 plus 10 is positive 4. So negative 3a plus 4 would be my output. Alright, let's do another one. Example 2, for both of these functions, I'm going to find f of 4 for both of them. So I just want to know, hey, if my input is 4, what's the output going to be? So the first one in part A is a set of points. So I've got the points 1, 3, 2, 0, 4, 10, and 7, 4. So my input is 4, that's my x value. So I'm just going to look here and I'm going to find, well, where's x4? Oh, there it is. Okay, so x is 4 in this point over here. And when x is 4, my y value is 10. So f of 4 for part A is 10. Because that's the y value that goes with 4 for my x value. Alright, what if I have an equation? So in part B, we've got f of x equals the opposite of x squared. So for f of 4, I'm going to input 4 for my x. You'll notice that it's not negative x squared, it's the opposite of x squared. That negative's not in parentheses. So with order of operations, we're definitely going to do exponents before we multiply that by the negative 1 outside. So 4 squared is 16, and then it's going to be the opposite of 16, which would be negative 16. And that's our output when x is 4. Alright, now it's your all's turn. You get to try one and show me how much you've learned.